Welcome to Money on Tap, your personal finance headquarters. Money on Tap is where we bring out the professionals' experience and some fun in what we call three-dimensional investing, utilizing insurance, brokerage, and fee-based planning. That's what we do on this show. We look at all sides of the issues and bring a fully independent planning perspective to the table. My name is Seth Cressman, and I'm joined here once again with Ben Brayshaw, Eric Morton, and John Ryder. Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Seth.
Good
Howdy,
morning,
partners.
everybody.
That's a little West Coast for you there. Thanks, Eric. We appreciate the flavor.
Howdy, partners. All right. You have your sombrero on over there, Eric, or what?
From Vancouver,
There
Washington.
you go.
Cool. Oh, yeah.
Southern accent.
Oh,
I don't know.
yeah.
How does that work?
You can reach us at info@yourmoneyontap.com. You can also find us at Facebook /3D Investing. And we are on Twitter as well at BFG_LLC. We are excited to have you with us today, no matter where you are in your financial planning process. We're going to be talking about something that you're going to relate to, believe it or not. Doesn't matter where you are. This applies to you, everyone. And I can't wait to get into the weeds with you here on this, Eric. But what the heck is this stuff? Property and casualty insurance. What are we talking about when we say P&C, property and casualty insurance?
Well, guys, I'll tell you, this is the most exciting part of financial planning, so I'm kind of surprised that you haven't had many episodes filled with this topic. Everyone loves to hear about ways they can spend money to protect their money, right? Okay, so let me back up a bit. Seth, you mentioned some very archaic words, property and casualty insurance. That's called P&C if you're in the industry. Something we all have, whether it's car insurance, home insurance, or even insurance for your phones, falls in this category. Have you guys have any experience with these terms at all?
Archaic? Like Old English? Like there should be a "the" or something like that before that?
Yeah, I think it might even be italicized. You know, it's like property and casualty leaning to the right in a sentence.
I'm excited that we're actually going to cover this topic because this is a question that we get a lot sitting on the table with clients all the time. And it's something that people think like they've checked the box and they move on from. Like I'm done. But there's a lot of things that change in this industry, a lot of developments. There's potential cost savings and things like that. And I think that's one of the reasons why, having Eric as a partner here is really been a good fit for us. So Eric, you give us the bottom line here. Tell us what we got.
So the biggest piece here that probably relates with folks is when they're calling in, like most people are switching on their auto side, their insurance, when they're every 6 months, maybe calling their company or trying to shop. And one of the things that people do is they say, well, I'd like full coverage. Well, what does that mean? So if you go back to property and casualty, everybody understands that you're insuring your property, your car that you own, or maybe the bank owns and you're making payments on. That's the property side of property and casualty. But the other side is what protects you from a lawsuit. So if you injure other people, you injure passengers in your car, there's this liability side. And so that's the casualty. So that's it, basically. Property and casualty insurance is one policy that covers both. And so all this time, people have been saying, give me that full coverage. They've been saying, I want property and casualty sprinkled on top there.
Well, that sounds tasty.
Yeah, it is. And it's interesting to say the least. But I know that one of the things that some folks don't quite understand is what property and casualty or full coverage is trying to do for you. And what that is insurance in general is trying to indemnify you. So I hate to keep throwing these terms out, but indemnification, I don't know if you can spell that.
Spell that for me, Eric. Yeah.
Use it in a sentence, and then let's spell it. No, what it is it's trying to get you back into a position where you were prior to the loss occurring. That is the art of indemnification.
Okay, so you're saying like if I have a fire at my property and I have a room that burns down, it's getting me back to the exact place I was. So even if there's smoke damage to other parts of the house, it's getting everything back to what it was before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say it almost feels like a 4-letter word. Like I might threaten my kids with some indemnification if they don't
Not
clean
4 letters,
their rooms.
though. Very clearly not 4 letters. Yeah.
Yeah. You're going to bring them back.
It might be 4 syllables.
Indemnification. Ooh, it's 6. That's a 6-syllable word.
This show
folks.
became much more sophisticated. With
Yes.
Eric's
Play some
training.
Scrabble
Yes.
over here.
Indemnification.
Throw that out.
I think the thing about this is that, at the end of the day, when people call and say, I want that full coverage, like when Eric says people want full coverage, I hear that kind of stuff. I mean, and what they're really saying is, I just want, when something bad happens, for it to all go back to normal.
Yeah, I want to be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to lose everything that I...
And I don't know
so
what
hard
all
to
this jazz is that you guys do in the background, but just make sure I'm covered. I'm sure that's what Eric hears too. Like,
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
just make sure I'm covered.
No matter what happens,
Covered
yeah.
for what? And I think that's the open-ended question, because you need somebody who understands what coverages are, what's relevant, what's appropriate, what risks you really live in each and every day. I think that's the part where a lot of people don't come back to you. It's like, hey, my insurance agent wants to meet with me and go over, me paying more money. It's like, they want to review your risks and find out that, when you have a fire or a tragedy happens or whatever, that you're okay.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that about asking about the risks, because it really is. If you have a good agent, what they're trying to do is give you a risk management strategy for your family that is fine-tuned to what you do on a day-to-day basis.
I think you would agree that the time to review your coverage is not after you have something that happens. And I think that probably happens quite a bit where people are like, is this covered or not? You had this accident or
Right,
whatever,
right.
or water damage or tornado or whatever. And the time to figure out how well you're covered is not after the incident occurs.
Yeah, you got to have that. You got to have that conversation going and questions and answers. People are like, well, I don't want to spend much time with my agent as possible, because it's not the most exciting conversation. However, we got to know.
I think the comedy piece of this is I every time I think of, property and casualty insurance and all of those types of pieces I think of, Ned Ryerson from the movie with Groundhog Day.
Oh,
Yeah. Hey,
Oh, yeah.
Ned Ryerson, because it's like everyone
Bill?
thinks that,
Bell.
Yeah. When you're really breaking down insurance, it's not meant to be an irritant. It's meant to really protect you. And I think, when you go through all the pieces of truly getting coverage, it's a relationship that you do want to have regularly and a conversation you want to have regularly.
And, I think it goes right in line with, with what you're doing, Seth, and Eric out there, with the property and casualty, is the fact that you're having conversations that are not always fun to have. We have the same here. We're talking about life, disability, long-term care. Who really wants to talk about that? But it's very, very important to have coverage in those
We love
areas.
doing that
Yeah. We love talking about tragedy.
all day long.
I'll say, these terms and the conversations typically pretty boring. So I thought we'd at least talk about some of the myths, legends, truths when dealing with these policies. And hence the name of this show, Two Truths and a Lie. We're going to play a little game later, have some fun with this one. But before we do, we're going to hit the headlines with Seth.
Money in the news. Hey, let's start this one off with the Marriott headline. Marriott is going to be taking on Airbnb in the home rental market.
It's crazy.
This is interesting. This is really interesting. I'm just curious because they're talking about how Airbnb has been buying, parts of and full, ownerships in hotels and throughout the different parts of the world, and getting ready to go public. I mean, that's a kind of an interesting display against trying to get a position. It's kind of like one's going into it seems to me like it would be easier to go into the hotel space if you're like Airbnb than to go kind of almost what I think is like backwards with Marriott.
The first thing I thought of was that they were going to start like renovating Marriotts to look like people's homes or something. And I realized, no, that's not that. They would, they would never do that. That's not. But if you look at the Airbnb number of rooms that they have listed, it's unbelievable. There's 492 or 4.92 million in comparison to Marriott with 1.29 million. I mean, that's a huge difference in the rooms available.
Show of hands. Show of hands. Who here has stayed at a Airbnb?
People driving, keep both hands.
3 hands.
You
Okay,
know,
so all
10
of us,
and 2,
100% of us have stayed at Airbnb. What were you going to say, Eric?
Oh, well, I was just going to say that I used to travel a lot for work. And so I would use and set up different Airbnbs wherever I went. For a week-long stay, you've got a conference here, you've got a meeting in D.C., and you're staying in a different neighborhood each trip. It was fantastic. But the thing that made me a little reluctant was I'm not getting my points. I'm not getting my points for my stay at the hotel so that I can get the free hotel down the line. It overrode, just the unique ability to stay wherever you wanted, overrode that desire. But that's what Marriott's going to turn that switch. They're going to say, oh, yeah, you can stay at our Airbnbs, whatever they're going to call it, and you get your points. That's the ace in the hole for them.
Points
that Airbnb's got to worry about.
Travelers, right?
What do you think about them turning Airbnb or that model into something like a timeshare? Do you think that would work?
Pin drop.
Well, I think we can discuss business strategy in the future, but
we'll do that at our future board meetings.
Yeah. If Airbnb is listening, we get credit for that idea.
The pin drop is the opposite of the mic drop.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so to transition to our next story, when you're at an Airbnb, Eric, do you have a cup of coffee there?
No.
So this next story is about a coffee cup revolution. This is in the Wall Street Journal just recently here, and so what's the deal with this one? This is a new innovation for a guy that really needed help.
I think there's a couple stories inside of this, John. There's the couple that create the coffee cup for their grandfather, who was a World War II veteran. And if you look at this coffee cup, it kind of reminds me of the cell phones that you see that have like the really big buttons on them. My dad has one of these. Like I think it's called a Jitterbug or some. There's probably other companies out there doing this. Anyways, but it's like a regular sized mug with this huge handle on it so that he can hold it. And then behind that in the picture, what we see is 3D printing. Like they had the ability to create this because we now have 3D printing pretty much available to anybody that wants to start making things like this.
Well, I think it's interesting. So they did this whole analysis on all the muscles and tendons and stress pressures. When you hold this mug, it would impact the joints of your finger and various parts of your body. I mean, when you think about, I've got a coffee mug in front of me. You think about it's the way you hold it. They're saying that there's all this stress on all these different areas of your body, including your elbow, that are unnecessary, and that with their design, they're actually able to reduce all the stress way, way down, and that feels almost effortless to hold it.
Hey, can you see this mug here? See how there's like a little thumb rest there? That's my friend the potter who makes these mugs here. So I got that thumb rest right there.
Oh, is that Harry?
Yeah. Harry Potter makes that.
As I was reading this story, I was thinking about the fact that innovation is never over. Right? I mean, here we're talking about a coffee cup that people have been using a cup for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And, and yet somebody is still innovating a coffee cup.
The next thing that they're going to come out with is a printer that works.
They can 3D print
over
a
there
coffee mug, but they can't print my 10-page report.
I know, or a scanner that connects to your computer. It's amazing what we can do and what we can't do. So, but I think that is really an interesting perspective, because you don't think of somebody innovating around a coffee cup at this day and age. Like you think we have the coffee cup,
computers and this and that, but a coffee cup. I think
we got a coffee cup down, don't we? Yeah,
coffee cup's fine. Yeah,
kind of move past the coffee cup
until it isn't.
But Harvard is all over this thing, so it's just interesting. Very, very interesting.
We are gonna take a break, and we'll be right back. If you are joining us today for the first time, welcome. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com. Also, podcasters out there, Really appreciate all the likes, the listens, the downloads, the subscriptions, all those things that podcasters are doing out there today. We appreciate that, and welcome to Money on Tap.
Hi, my name is Ben Brayshaw, one of the co-hosts of Money on Tap. If you have questions when it comes to your retirement and are looking for a personalized solution, contact us at Brayshaw Financial Group. In today's volatile stock market, we can help you plan to find your successful retirement solution. Am I saving enough? Am I saving into the right places? Do my investments match my appetite for risk? Do I have a tax strategy that is going to help me keep more of what I earn? How can I maximize my Social Security income? If you are like most people, you are getting closer and closer to your retirement and may be wondering if you're taking the right steps. If you're in retirement, you may be wondering, am I maximizing my income while preserving my estate and caring for my family? We talk about all things financial in what we call three-dimensional investing, putting a plan around your financial future. If you feel that now is the time to start getting the answers to some of these questions for your own situation, give us a call at Brayshaw Financial Group at 855-226-8551. Headquartered in Bedford, New Hampshire, we have offices throughout New England and across the country. We would love the opportunity to show you how we can help. There is absolutely no cost or obligation just to meet with us, and we welcome you to our office. Call us at 855-226-8551.
And now here's more Money on Tap with Ben, John, Seth, and Eric.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money on Tap, your personal finance headquarters. Money on Tap is where we bring out the professionals' experience and some fun in what we call three-dimensional investing. You can reach us at info@yourmoneyontap.com. You can also find us or call us at 855-226-8551. I don't know why that's funny. Just every once in a while, things come out a different way. Finding us at the phone number seemed funny to me. So we're going to move on to our topic today. And we're going to be talking with Eric about property and casualty insurance. Take it away, Eric.
Okay, so it's fun. It's fun stuff. Okay, so you guys might remember in college, you may have played the game Two Truths and a Lie. I don't know, John. Did you ever play that game at all? Do you remember?
You know what? So I don't think that was a big game where we were, but I can imagine what it is. What is it? So is this game where you're sitting around a room, you're sitting in your dorm room and you're bored because you don't have a date, and so you're sitting around talking about, hey, I'm going to say 3 facts here, and you have to guess which one is the lie. Is that correct? Is that kind of how that works?
That is.
Yeah.
That is how that works.
I bet we could play that game right here.
That's a pretty good guess, John.
Yes. I don't know. I just go with stuff like that. I don't know why. Just a gamer, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Right. So what I thought would be kind of fun would be if we talked about some insurance policies that you might actually be able to buy from legit companies. And you guys, I'm going to give you 3, and then you guys decide which one you think is true, which one's false. See what you think about it.
Sounds great.
Let's go.
We put money on this?
Definitely makes it more interesting.
Yeah.
Ben,
I'm
no.
just kidding.
No.
Okay, so I'm going to start with Ben on this one. Okay, I'm going to shorten it up. So I'm going to give you one that's false and one that's true, and you let me know which one it is. Okay.
Okay.
So Ben, can you actually purchase an insurance policy, a P&C insurance policy, for cold feet at a wedding, prior to a wedding? Or the second one would be, can you purchase a policy that essentially protects you from being abducted by aliens?
I'm gonna go round 2. I'm gonna go B. I'm gonna go aliens. I think you could purchase a policy on alien abduction.
Okay. So I want to tell you that I kind of did a little trick there, because both of those you can get. One of them you can actually get from a standard company that you can call in and say, hey, I'll take the cold feet insurance. It's the night before you're getting ready to get married, get hitched, and you're just like, I'm out. You can actually purchase that policy. You can actually purchase both, but the cold feet insurance is one that folks can actually get on a regular basis.
Eric, I am not interested in the cold feet one. However, if you could just contact me after the show about the alien abduction. That would be great. Thank you very much. I just need to get that taken care of. It's been something I've been thinking about for a long time.
I just got scammed. I just got scammed. So
How
it was
does
2
that
truths
cold
and a
feet
truth.
thing work? Like, okay, so you go to the wedding and you get cold. I mean, I'm sure I understand a little, like the alien abduction. I'm not sure how you prove that, But if
You're gone.
that in fact happens, something like there's the indemnification word that comes in, right? And somebody's made whole. I don't know. This
How do you
crazy.
make your heart whole?
This?
How do you get your heart whole once it's been broken like that? That's a good
Ooh.
question.
Yeah.
Here's some of the details. Here, let me add a bit to it. So Fireman's Fund will offer a policy that will even cover the costs in the event the bride or groom has a change of heart, calls off the event. Be sure to read the fine print, however, because in order to make a claim, the wedding has to be canceled a full year before its scheduled date. Ooh.
A full year.
So the day before, there's a year deductible. So those big planners can actually purchase the policy and then cancel it a year out, but not the day before. That's just one company, though. So you can check rates and different options.
Don't most cold feets happen the day of? Like in all the movies, right? The bride walks out that day. She's like, I'm not going to make this life decision now.
Yeah, I think that was Julia Roberts, if I remember correctly. But yeah, you don't get coverage. This is one of those things where you call in and you say, hey, am I covered or am I not on this cold feet policy? Not the day of, unfortunately. But check around.
Have fun shopping that.
So, John, just to go back on the alien abduction one, you can do that if you want. We can talk about it after the show. Yes. But I just wanted to tantalize the rider that you can add for the zombie
I would
apocalypse.
definitely add the rider.
You could add the rider for the zombie
I would definitely add that, too.
What?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've been thinking
We're going to
a lot about
endorse
that,
that policy with a zombie
I've
apocalypse
been
rider.
putting it off, talking with my PC
Phones are
agent.
ringing
Yes.
right now. Right now.
Holy
People
cow,
can't
I knew
help
this was going
themselves.
to be a hit.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
The fact that you could insure yourself legitimately for either of those is just
Okay, ready? So now I'm gonna shoot this over to Seth over in Hillsboro.
Ready.
You ready? I'm not going to give your address out because that's
Okay.
privileged information.
It
Okay.
really isn't, but that's fine.
All right. Okay. So we've got two. We've got one here that is true and one that's false. One
You're not
is,
trying to trick me again?
No, I'd prefer not to do that.
All right.
One, can you insure your crazy uncle, or can you insure your golf game being so horrible?
crazy
Wow.
uncle from what though?
Crazy. Yeah. Like he's just kind of kooky and
Pyromaniac?
he needs insurance.
What?
Yeah. So
Okay.
he just goes off and does some crazy things, and you're like, you know what? I need to make sure that if he does something crazy, I'm gonna.
Yeah. Oh, I see. So, you know what? I'm going to go with A. I think you can insure, depending on the level, right, that Uncle's at here, right? If Uncle likes to skydive or Uncle likes to race cars, drive, I think maybe that's where you're going with that. Maybe I think there's something out there for him.
Yeah. No, that would be incorrect. Incorrect. So no point
You
awarded.
can insure your golf
cannot-
game all these years that I haven't known that.
You can insure your golf game, and I'm not talking about like, hey, I'm supposed to be hitting this, and here's my score. This is for anybody with shooting an errant ball, lost or stolen clubs, equipment. This isn't just I should be hitting a 59 for the day.
I play golf with people who have lost clubs. They're somewhere in the woods.
I've walked up on the lost clubs before. Like it's so common around a green. There's like a sand wedge or a lob wedge or something like that sitting there.
That is so hilarious, Seth, because in golfing with you, I remember you had like a wide assortment of clubs in your bag. I didn't know why, all different brands.
And most of
It was
them
kinda
aren't
weird.
even mine.
Yeah, I have played with some classics. I have played with people who have thrown them into the woods, thrown them into ponds, lakes. I mean, I bet you every one of our listeners that plays golf has seen something like that. I mean, it is crazy. I mean, I've like frustratedly hit my club against the ground, like, I should have
John
been better.
McEnroe of golf, Ben Brayshaw.
But man, I have not.
Yeah, I remember last time I played golf with you, Ben. I just about took your phone and threw it into the lake. Get off!
Oh yeah, because it wouldn't
now.
stop ringing.
Yeah, he's just constantly on the phone while we're playing golf.
calling.
Not that
Well-
my game deserves any better, but that was fun.
Well, I'll tell you. So the reason why you can't insure the crazy uncle is another just bottom line foundation of insurance, and it's you don't have any insurable interest in him. Okay, so course, life insurance, you can do some things that way. But for him just being willy-nilly out in the wilderness, going crazy on someone, having some road rage, you can't personally insure him for that. It's just not, you don't have the insurable interest. The golf game is a correct answer.
Oh, so tricky.
So where are we at with the scores right now? And let's see. I tricked Ben, and then Seth.
No. I got the alien right.
That's
he has at least
I got the alien right, and I knew that I was probably going to go with zombie apocalypse as
Can
well.
we ensure that Ben won't get cheated out of this game, Eric? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, I think he's trying to give the game away.
West Coast versus East Coast. What's going on?
Okay, so I'm gonna end this shenanigan with John, and I'm gonna give you 3, John.
Yeah, baby, give him 3.
3. Okay.
I'm gonna give you 3. See what you think. Okay, can you, John? Can you actually buy a policy that protects you from kidnapping in a foreign country? That's 1. Think about it. Let that percolate. Number 2, can you purchase a policy that ensures that your fantasy football experience is not a dire straits? Can you insure your fantasy football team? That's number 2. And then lastly, can you actually insure for whether or not you're going to be bringing bed bugs home after a work trip?
Yes, no, yes. Yes to the kidnapping. No.
I mean,
John, you're going to need that policy.
And the bed bugs, definitely, because it's happened many, many times.
it has. You've
I've
put
had
in
it
a claim
pay.
for that?
I've had it pay. It's been wonderful.
Yeah, he's
So sorry.
John,
I'm so sorry.
John, I should apologize
I've
for
made
that.
a lot of money through that.
So check this out. You've read these books about the folks that are kidnapped and millions of dollars being spent. So here's the details. Those traveling in different countries, aside from the trauma, kidnapping can get extremely expensive, considering the cost of the ransom itself. We're expert negotiators and or travel arrangements. So covering yourself, many wealthy families and companies with employees overseas carry kidnap and ransom insurance. Call your local independent agent to place and find the carrier for kidnap and ransom insurance,
Yes,
folks.
Yes.
So you were correct. You were correct. The second one, you cannot insure your fantasy football team. Although, if you just followed Seth's picks each year, you wouldn't need insurance. You just win hands down.
Wow, Seth.
Am I right about that?
Yay.
And then the last one, yes, bed bug insurance. You actually can buy that policy if you bring one of those critters back. It's funny because it says you have no coverage if it just was in your home, but you do have coverage if you just came back from a trip and brought it with you. So I'm not sure how they, have little tiny cameras in your bags to determine where that came from.
Yeah, establishing the point of origin would be a bit challenging there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's see. We've got points for everybody. We're good to go. Okay. So final score: Ben 50%, Seth 0, and John takes home 1, 3 points. Really.
Wait.
Ben is not happy. Ben is fighting. This is the playground. We're back in 6th grade.
I don't know that I got a fair shot at winning here.
Ben, you are offsides.
You had to pick the lie. That was the
There
trick.
wasn't
And that
one.
one there was right. So that's why I'm saying I tricked you. It was my bad. I get negative.
Typical insurance agent, Eric. Good.
Lied to me.
Hey, we're going to take a quick break here at Money on Tap. You can reach us at info@yourmoneyontap.com or 855-226-8551. Again, we appreciate you listening to Money on Tap. And if you are joining us via podcast, we appreciate the subscriptions, the downloads, the likes. And we're going to be right back with more fun with property and casualty insurance. And Eric Morton will be right back.
When we invest, we do so with a certain degree of risk, knowing the volatility of the market. On today's Cliff Notes edition of Money on Tap, John Ryder encourages us to have a game plan, and that doesn't necessarily mean we panic when the market is down.
Issues that worry investors today, they're not necessarily new worries. we find that it's really important for people to stay focused despite all the day-to-day distractions that we face, especially during periods of economic uncertainty. When the going gets tough, a lot of people head for the sidelines. They're kind of scared. That's not always a good thing. And so what we encourage people to do is to stay steady with what they're doing, not necessarily to be reactive to what's going on in the market and to be moving in and out, but to really have a game plan when it comes to that volatility.
Thanks for joining us for this Cliff Notes edition of Money on Tap, with great tips from the pros in three-dimensional investing, utilizing insurance, brokerage, and fee-based planning. And now here's more Money on Tap with Ben, John, Seth, and Eric.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money on Tap, your personal finance headquarters. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com. We are talking about property and casualty insurance today with Eric Morton, Brayshaw Financial Group. Eric, what's next? I mean, we played this game. We might have myself and Ben that are losing to John in the, was it two truths and a lie game? And
I want another round.
Well, here's the deal. I just dominated the scoreboard, but I was surprised to hear about a couple of these policies. I still can't believe that you can actually insure for bed bugs or for kidnapping, but I'm glad I got it right. But it's hard to believe.
You can't believe that you can insure for zombie apocalypse, right?
That's yes.
You're on board for that.
That makes sense, though. Anyone knows that that's an important policy to get. But what I'm interested really is in putting to rest some of the insurance myths over the years. Eric, can you tell me this? Is it really more costly to insure your red Corvette versus your blue Corvette?
You know what? That's a good one. It's funny. Some of these keep popping up over the years, and they ask these questions. Clients come in, and it's something you got to know. You got to know now that the real reason that the red Corvette insurance cost more is two things. One, the red Corvette does actually, in fact, cost more than the blue Chevy pickup. It just does. So if you've got a red vehicle, or it's typically going to be the sports car, and they say, well, the color of your car matters. Well, I'll tell you, the red pickup and the blue pickup, there's no difference. The real reason was because of that value. So part of it's the value. And then the other thing is, who's driving the red Corvette? What are they doing on a weekend? I just always picture Ben driving his red Corvette on the weekend, getting pulled over, going a little too fast. So you're more apt to push the limits with that type of car. It's the performance. It's the performance and the cost. That's the issue.
Yeah, so
it's
obviously getting
really
your 16-year-old son a red Corvette or a bright red Ford Mustang for graduation present probably wouldn't be a good idea when it comes to the insurance. That's right. So
I think what's hilarious here is that Ben actually has a blue Chevy pickup.
I do.
It doesn't have a red Corvette.
Yes, no red Corvette.
I was going to say the other reason was probably because of the hit song, right? Little Red Corvette. That had nothing to do with it.
Well, yeah. I mean, the potential for damage done when someone's listening to that song in a high-performance red Corvette. It's a nice day out. I mean, what are the stars are all aligned here for potential heartache for the insurance company. That's why you're paying more. It has nothing to do with just the color, folks. It's what you're doing behind the wheel.
And that's why the four-wheel drive, right? The four-wheel drive costs more to insure than the two-wheel drive.
Yes.
Statistically,
whatever's extra. So, you've got extra features. People say, well, I've got all these safety features now that protect me. So why are my rates higher? Well, I'll tell you why. Because that computer that helps keep you safe costs $3,000. You didn't have that prior. You know what I mean?
So I got a car question for you, because all these commercials out there have, Eric, this is like in the middle of life right now today. All these monitors you can bring in your car to reduce your cost of insurance. Can you give us a little bit of information on that? Could you just play with that for a minute? I'll get to. I have a question for you after this, but just since we're on cars, so.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And really, the whole point of this segment is let's talk about some of this stuff that you think Big Brother and all this could. Let's talk about it. So those devices, each carrier does it differently. I say carrier, I mean company. But each company has their own little shtick on this extra discount that you get by plugging in the device in your car, downloading an app, you name it. So what's happening here is a couple things. When I used to work for one of the larger insurance companies in the country, they actually had an app that you downloaded on your phone, and what it did is it was two different things. You've got a discount. You're proving that your mileage is lower than everyone else's is really all that you're doing. So this isn't just I take my left's too sharp, I slam on my brakes, I slam on the gas. It's not even really monitoring your speed. It's really all about the mileage, because when you call your insurance company and you say, oh, yeah, no, I probably do about 5,000 a year, not the average 10 to 12. Well, the company is thinking, yeah, that's probably not accurate. So we need something to kind of prove what your mileage is. So that's the bottom line reason for these devices. It's not really your driving habits.
Yeah, because that's actually what they're actually saying on the commercials. You see people like, I don't know which actor it is, but this young kid pulls up in a Corvette or a kind of a younger kid's sports car, and he's got like an older, like Mustang or whatever, and they're trying to race him, and he's like, I don't want to lose my deduction, which is hilarious.
Well, I have a friend of mine, Eric, that had a very progressive policy, if you catch my drift, and that progressive policy was monitoring his speed and that kind of thing, and he actually ended up switching companies because he found out that his rates were going up based upon his driving. And maybe that's inaccurate. I don't know, but he was very 9 months to that, and he's like, I'm done.
Yeah, no, and don't get me wrong, those statistics are there. Just the overriding reason for this is for mileage. Gotcha. They do also track the other things. And so for what I loved most about it when me and my wife both had it was you get a letter grade. So you get who's the better driver that you're arguing with your better half this whole time? Well, guess what? The statistics show that I am the better driver or you're the better driver. There's no more argument. It's just there. It's like you take left turns horribly. This is what I've been saying this whole time we've been married. And so
I don't need to pass judgment. Other people are.
You can, yeah. And the best part about some of these is you can actually look at your age group within the state that you're driving. It's a game. And you think to yourself, I've got to prove that I'm a better driver mentally every time you get in the car. You see the little device plugged in. It causes you to think twice about being reckless.
What must it be like?
Those are the two things.
What must it be like to be a professional race car driver? You've just been driving 210 miles an hour on the track, and you get into your, I'm sure, a very nice vehicle when you're leaving the track. What must it be like to be on the road after you've been driving a couple hundred miles an hour?
I'll share a little bit about that.
Oh, Ben, tell us.
Interesting.
No, I was just laughing about the time that I was driving Seth and John. We were coming from
story again.
Oh yeah, we were having we were driving back in the middle of a snowstorm from Massachusetts.
This is not for consumers.
Yes,
Ben.
This
is not for the public.
I was on the phone with hands-free. I was hands-free on the phone.
Laptop beside you.
No, that is not true. That's such a lie. Two truths and a lie. I'll give you the two truths here.
GPS.
I was driving, snowstorm, 7, 8, 9 car pileup starts happening in front of us.
Mm-hmm. I told the doing 90.
No, I was not doing 90. Oh my gosh, you guys are ridiculous. I tell the person to hold on. I maneuver my way through the accident because it would have been too dangerous to stop. And then after I get through the accident? Through the accident.
Through the accident or caused the accident?
No, through the accident. The accident was happening in front of us. Seth and John were basically speechless. There was grunts and groans like, as the cars were piling up around us.
The accident here is that a car was rolling on the right side, and another one was like doing this nice little swerves, fishtail back and forth, and Ben just like cuts right in between the two of them. We barely missed the fishtail in our direction to avoid the accident. Am I right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. But there was like 5 or 6 cars, piling up on the left.
10 or 12?
And then
10 or 12?
And then I politely, after we drove through the accident, and these two guys were stunned out of their minds, said, "Oh, I'm back with you on the phone."
Yeah. Yeah. Meanwhile, like we're so scared, like we're just stuck in that panic face, like.
Hey, don't forget that.
You can't
Eric,
put that.
Don't forget that when Ben's looking for new insurance rates.
You can't
forget that, Eric.
You can't put that as a letter grade. No letter grade on that.
I did file that back. I did file that in the back here of my mind. But I will say that
that's an A, boys.
One of the things I loved listening to customers that were like, "Yeah, I don't want that discount. I don't want to plug that in. I don't want the man listening to where I'm, what I'm doing." And I say, "Hey, what type of phone you got?" "Oh, yeah, this iPhone X." I'm like, okay, so that's tracking you more than anything else. So, if you're worried about, I don't want to plug this device in, I don't want them knowing where I'm at, your phone's already doing that, people. You might as well try out the discount, see what you think. If you don't like it, take it off. It might actually end up saving you quite a bit, honestly.
All right, well, let's get to this next question here, Eric. I know we're getting close on time here, but one of the things that we get questions about is why insurance for boys is higher than for girls who have the same driving record.
And GPAs.
Interesting. So I did want to tackle this because this is definitely a myth that was more accurate further back when we had less of a aggressive driving for both sexes here. So again, it's all about insurance rates and actuaries and the tables that determine what everybody should be paying. Comes down to past performance and then predicting that that's going to happen in the future. So back in the day, you had, the young male drivers coming in on age 16. They get their license day one. They're racing all their buddies. They're showing off to their girlfriends, and they're flipping their cars and all of these things. And although that may still be happening somewhat, it isn't happening as often. And so the rates now, you're actually seeing that they're very similar, and there isn't that big discrepancy. And it may even be where some companies where there's no difference whatsoever. It's just the day that we're living in these now. So it is quite a myth that you're going to be paying way more for a male driver that's under 25.
So Eric, let me ask you this: if a teenager, let's say a 19-year-old boy, gets his first ticket, is that automatic for speeding? Is that automatic insurance increase, or is that they'll say, it's okay, it wasn't a big deal, or is that automatic?
It depends on the company you're with. Yeah. Everybody treats it differently. I have that on here to discuss a bit. But in that case, whenever you get a ticket while you're in the middle of a policy, companies are not running those motor vehicle records at the time. So the only way that it's going to increase is if you call in and say, "Hey, my son got a ticket. I'd like you to rerun my rates for this 6-month period or 12-month period." But there isn't a forgiveness of a ticket unless you purchase that on your policy ahead of time, which you can.
Oh, wow. Interesting. I didn't know that.
So are some companies more competitive, like say in that I have kids driving market than others?
Yeah. There's some companies that have what we call an appetite for that. They realize that, hey, if we help this family out now, they're going to stick with us for 20 years rather than shop it. And so there are, knowing what those companies are in the industry is important, and say, okay, this one, they really want young drivers. They want families. There's other companies that do not, and they tell you that they do not clearly by their rates. That's how you know. It's like, this is double what this other company is offering.
So you bring up a couple of points that I think are interesting. The first one, that it might be better to use company A during this corridor and then company B or C through the next 10 years, whatever that life circumstances and the insurance looks like for you. And then the other thing I was going to ask you was read a Consumer Reports. I think this is going back a couple of summers, and the idea around the or having a long-term relationship and there being a better rate based off of the term that I've had that insurance with the company. Does that make sense? Like, the longer I've been with the company, the less I pay because of that relationship. And they were finding the opposite was true with a lot of these large carriers out there, that they're kind of lulling people almost to sleep in that idea and raising rates over time, where they could be changing or I use the Comcast Verizon or Comcast Dish, right? What's my best rate out there for whoever's providing internet, and shopping the two against each other?
Yeah, so I think you're hitting on a couple things there. And one is, now that I've been moved over and seen the light to come over to the independent planning side for insurance, is now I can see oh, okay, these 3 companies like young drivers, these 2 do not. And what happens with one ticket? Maybe one company's okay with a ticket, maybe one's not. An at-fault accident. There's all these different factors. So being able to piece and say, hey, this is your best option now. In a year from now, let's reevaluate. Let's take a look and see if that's still the case, because insurance rates are cyclical. They're always going to increase. There's going to be some periods where they decrease a little bit, but it's very rare. And so you've got to be able to make those moves when it makes sense. Now, the other thing that you mentioned was, is there in fact any advantage to staying with a company a long time? And I will say that there are some benefits. A couple of those benefits would be if you pay your bills on time, you don't have any occurrences on your history, violations or accidents, then you can hit a certain time frame where now you have a forgivable accident. So if you hit the 5-year mark, well, guess what? Your rates aren't going to increase because of your longevity with that company. You get a freebie, if you will. So go ahead and slam on the gas there in your red Corvette. Your rates won't change. So there is some benefits to it. It just, depending on what period of time and weighing all those options, when you just have one carrier option, then you're stuck with that. If you have someone that can help you plan and piece that best for your family, then that's the way to go.
We're going to take a quick break here at Money on Tap. We're talking about property and casualty insurance, and you can reach us at info@yourmoneyontap.com or 855-226-8551. Again, thanks for joining us at Money on Tap. We'll be right back with kind of the wrap-up of things that you need to take away from the show about property and casualty insurance. Hi, my name is Seth Crustman, partner with Brayshaw Financial Group and one of the co-hosts of Money on Tap. One of the biggest concerns and largest expenses people face today is taxes. Without thoughtful planning, taxes can destroy future retirement dollars, eliminating the possibility of a timely retirement or dreams of what you want retirement to look like. If you're like most people, you're getting closer and closer to retirement, and you may be wondering if you're taking the right steps. Will my income be enough? Will rising taxes force me to give up my dreams? How does inflation factor into all of this? These are real concerns, and you're not alone. Putting a plan around your financial future is what we do. If you have questions when it comes to your financial security, and if you're looking for a personalized solution, contact us at Brayshaw Financial Group, 855-226-8551. It's time for you to start getting answers to your questions. Headquartered in Bedford, New Hampshire, Brayshaw Financial has offices across the country. We'd love the opportunity to show you how we can help. There's absolutely no cost or obligation to meet with us. Call us at 855-226-8551. 855-226-8551.
And now here's more Money on Tap with Ben, John, Seth, and Eric.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com. You can also find us at Facebook /3D Investing and any of the podcast venues out there. Anybody listening to podcasts, we appreciate the subscriptions and the downloads and the likes and all that activity out there. We appreciate our podcasters. And if you're new to Money on Tap, thanks for sticking around. We're going to go into a wrap-up here on this segment of property and casualty insurance, really featuring Eric Morton, our property and casualty division here at Brayshaw Financial Group, and brings a wealth of knowledge to the table in the independent planning space for your property and casualty insurance. Hey, John, why don't you go ahead and jump in with us here on this topic?
Yeah, I think if you care about your family and if you care about insuring those losses that are so prevalent in today's society, it's around today, it's been around yesterday, we're going to need to insure losses tomorrow. But the thing is, if you care about them, then this is a very, very important subject. Now, I will say this. If you really don't have a care about taking care of your family, let's say that you're single, you just don't care about any of that, then maybe this is not for you. But I can tell you, if you're out there in today's audience and you have someone that you care about, and you have someone that you want to make sure that's okay, if you were to pass away, if you were to have a car accident, if your house were to burn down, any of those types of things, then this conversation here is one that you cannot ignore.
I think John, you, Seth, and Eric, when we sit down with people all the time, and we have to talk about tragedies, We have to talk about real exposure, real risk, real events. Clients that we've seen experience some of these events, and people we know have experienced these events that both did and didn't do anything, and some close to home. I mean, I've had relatives who have not properly taken care of things, not for lack of talking about it, but for lack of action. And it's not what we love doing. I mean, it's not what we enjoy, but we know that from the investment, from the planning side, that planning has to do with planning for the good, the retirement, the vacations, the college graduations, the high school graduations, the special times that you have on the anniversaries, all those planning, that's the fun stuff. But the planning for the bad stuff, not so fun to talk about.
Yeah, the unexpected, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't know what's in the future. You don't know what's around that curve in your life.
Right. And I think if you haven't really done this well, or you haven't done this to the point that you feel like, hey, I'm secure in this. If you're saying to yourself, I'm not sure that I'm secure in this, give us a call. I mean, these are things. I mean, Eric's amazingly talented in this and so knowledgeable in the roles he's had and the roles he has with us now, and just the stuff that he has the background in is just astronomical. And I think if you haven't had the opportunity to talk to someone like Eric or anybody at our firm, I think sit down, give us a call. See what it's like, because honestly, if you haven't really crossed this bridge, it's one that you can do well. And honestly, most of the time, this is an area where when it's done well, it actually usually is a financially better way of having done it. That's what I found is that, when you bring all this stuff together, it seems to be more affordable and in a better light than buying all these little pieces all over the place.
Yeah, as far as the planning goes, how often do we sit down with people and we're bringing these experiences, because we're working in the space all the time and we're looking out for our client's best interest, and there's going to be similarities that we can take a look at between you as somebody new that's working with us or been working with us for a while, but just as things have changed, we need to have a different discussion around what could possibly be going on in your planning experience and in the future. And that's one of the great gifts of sitting down with the experience of the team and bringing that to the table. So you don't have to think about it. You don't have to try to go out there and figure it out for yourself. I mean, I think of the property and casualty equation here. Ben, you remember the car I drove in college. It was a 1970 Bel Air.
And that was olive green.
Well, it had faded right from that green, but it was bought it from an 85-year-old man that just wasn't driving anymore. I think I spent $800. It had like 55,000 miles, original miles, right? But sat out in the carport forever. But the insurance, what I was needing and looking for in that insurance experience, in comparison today, so different. And just the idea of this, I'm just going to use the example of the umbrella policy. I didn't know what that was. And Eric was talking to me about this, and maybe it was a conversation that we had before. It was so cheap, and it covers so much stuff that I really want to make sure that I'm covered.
And here's another concept, real quick. As we're wrapping up, is the way that insurance companies make money is they take your premiums and they invest your premiums, and then they pay out for claims that they have. And so what we're trying to do from an independent perspective overall is to make sure you're paying the right rate, nothing more, nothing less, and then you can invest those funds. You let your money work for you rather than giving it to someone else to do. So, there's some folks that'll say, well, I'm insurance poor. I'm covered for every incident under the sun. And it's not about that. We're not trying to find different policies for you to buy. What we're trying to do is give you exactly what you need when you need it, and give you the funds back so that you can invest for your family and your future. And that's the point of independent planning.
Fantastic topic. Thank you so much, Eric, for really shedding some light and having some fun around the topic of property and casualty insurance. You know what? Here's a great spot for you folks to pick up a phone, call 855-226-8551, connect with us at Brayshaw Financial Group, and have that conversation you've been meaning to have around doing some planning, either finances, but let's kind of pull it all together and let's talk about that property and casualty cornerstone in your planning. and then really build it out from there and get the best plan possible for you so that you know that you're covered, so that you know that you're paying what's reasonable and, saving money in areas that you didn't even consider, and then starting to invest that differently for yourself and your family. Again, you can reach us at 855-226-8551 at Brayshaw Financial Group. You've been listening to Money on Tap. We thank you for onboarding with us here today, however you're doing that, via radio or podcast. Again, you can also email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com.
The views expressed are not necessarily the opinion of this radio station and should not be construed directly or indirectly as an offer to buy or sell any securities mentioned herein. Investing is subject to risks, including loss of principal invested. No strategy, product, material, or tool mentioned can assure a profit nor protect against loss. Please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information, products, materials, or tools mentioned should be relied upon when coordinated with individual professional advice. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. This show may be subsidized in whole or in part by a product sponsor or issuer. Securities and advisory services offered through SagePoint Financial Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC, and a registered investment advisor. All other services offered through Brayshaw Financial Group LLC are independent of SagePoint Financial. SagePoint Financial and Brayshaw Financial Group do not provide tax or legal advice. Main office is located at 116 South River Road, Bedford, New Hampshire, 03110, and can be reached at toll-free 855-226-8551.